Welcome to the Keys to Success. I am one of the hosts, Deba Douglas, and I'm here with one of my beautiful co-hosts, Tilisa Stubbs. How are you doing today?
I am doing fabulous today. I can't believe that it's only Tuesday. We got snow. I know y'all got some snow. We got some snow here in Virginia, and it's so pretty, but it's cold out here. It's
It
cold.
is cold. I'm surprised you're saying it's cold because when we're in Texas and it's cold, like everything shuts down, like it is crazy. So it snowed yesterday in Texas and it was just like an itty bitty amount. Like my kids went out to make angels and like there was no angel. It was just a big blog of nothing. And then to the next day, we had no school because they said it was too cold for the kids to be at the bus stop or anything of that nature. And I'm kind of like, but the roads are clear. They could go to school. Like for the moms that have a bunch of kids, they could definitely go to school today. It's been a
Girl.
struggle today.
There were so many things closed today, roads closed. I haven't even seen how many accidents were on the street because you know how people get to acting crazy when they like, oh my God, it's some snow. They don't know how to act.
Oh my gosh. We feel that same way in Texas. I mean, you remember with all our different ice storms. But yesterday it was snow, but I didn't really see a lot of ice. Or where I was at, there wasn't more ice. There was more snow than there was ice.
See, that was good. That was good.
Yeah.
Thank God. But anyways, other than that, your girl is
Yes.
doing good. I'm really, really excited about this episode today. I know Tam and Sean. I was telling them I haven't seen them since this past summer. Y'all looking good, by the way. But I'm gonna let hey, I'm gonna let Deba introduce you guys. You guys are doing some amazing things in the real estate space. So Deba, go ahead and take it off, my lady.
Yeah, so I am so honored to have Tam and Sean as our guests today. They have recently went through my Roadmap to Real Estate Investing course and they just purchased a property. We just flipped it and now it is sold. So I wanted them to just come on and just kind of share their journey, share their story. One, I'm honored that you guys trusted me and my team to help you through the process and we made it on the other side, right? And so we like my viewers, everyone wants to really just hear, tell us a little bit more about Tam and Sean.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having us.
Yes.
Try not to be nervous.
So Sean and I married, have two kids, and I am still working full time in the healthcare profession. And Sean just recently stepped away from the classroom to step into real estate 100%. Wow, where do I even begin? So in 2018, I'll just say it was a blessing in disguise. We had a family member that had opened the door to real estate for us. We obtained a property with a 3-2 in Fort Worth and really didn't know what we were blessed with at the time. Now, looking back, I think that there's some things, and of course, by way of the course, there's some things we could have done differently. I think in order for us to scale earlier on, had we been introduced or had we connected to the course much sooner or earlier on in our journey, I think it would have definitely benefited us further down the line. So.
No, that's absolutely true. It's like in real estate, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So when we did that first house, I mean, it was a great investment, but we had done it all wrong. So
yeah.
So it was just a very big journey for us, and we're glad that we got on board because we learned some definite things that made our path a lot easier. Especially the second time around, and so that going into this year, we're trying to be even bigger and better moving forward. So
yes.
So wait a second. Did I hear you say that you left the education industry?
Yeah, I'm trying to be like Deba.
Okay.
I'm Deba Jr. over here. Yeah, I worked in teaching for like 20 years. And then we have been talking. She had been asking me to leave teaching for a long time just because, teaching has some horror stories. And I couldn't see, continuing on being a teacher for 30, 35, 40. I just couldn't see it. And so some of the writing was on the wall. And so I was like, it's really time to make a change. So we, prayed on it to see, and so we are at this time, she's the breadwinner right now. And I'm trying to catch back up, by doing real estate, which keeps me motivated because that means I do have something that I have to, remake my salary. So I'm trying to get to that level, right now.
Yeah. And that's so beautiful because I think a lot of people don't realize the struggles and the sacrifice you have to make sometimes in order to get where you want to be, and taking those steps. Like sometimes you take 5 steps backwards so that you can definitely take a huge leap to move forward. And it only works when both people are together and they both understand the game plan. So Tam and Sean, I have to commend you guys for seeing where you are and saying, okay, let's make a shift. Let's change what the normal kind of transparency of our lives look like. And that is where the true journey begins. So that's a huge applause, because a lot of people are too fearful to do that.
Oh, it's scary.
but I will say this. Even though we talked about it and we prayed about it, I said, Sean, worst case scenario, even if you decide, hey, it didn't work, you can definitely go back. You definitely have that fallback plan. But we're not going to let plan B be our plan A.
Yes.
Let's step into it and let's see where this takes us. I mean, we know Deba personally. We've seen her journey take off, and then there's so many people that have been able to benefit by being able to expand their portfolio in real estate. So I was like, why not us? Let's just take the plunge. Let's just do it. So here we are.
I love that. And you said something, Tam. You said, why not us?
Yeah.
And I think that that's a question that a lot more of us need to ask, because I feel like a lot of the times we feel like this isn't for us. Owning real estate, having passive income, building wealth for my generations to come, that's not something that I thought was going to be handed to me. And so talk about the mindset shift that you had to make to be able to ask yourself, why not us?
So part of that is, I'd say a lot of that is our girls. We put our kids at such a high pedestal of, there's no limitations to what you can do. It's so interesting as adults, when you look at your kid, you tell them, oh, you can be whatever you want to be. And then when you become adult, you're like, that box becomes a little smaller and you start to limit yourself. And I'm like, how hypocritical is that we say one thing to our kids, but then we're not really like mirroring that talk, right? So even in this, my background is all healthcare. So I know zero when it comes to real estate. And I knew after we got out of our first property, I knew when we got back into it, I told Sean, I was like, I really think we need to find some type of way to just granulate this process. Like I've got a lot of like little questions, a lot of gaps that aren't being filled. And yes, people will say, oh, take my course here, take my course there. Like this course by far, non-sponsored comment, but this is honest dialogue. This course by far has been able to exceed our expectations. It's been able to answer those questions. Like, how do you scale? How can you do this confidently? Hey, I fumbled a little bit. How can I, pivot in our strategy? At what point do we pivot where we need to like go from a flip to a burr or a burr to a flip? Like at what point do you need to make that call? And having Deba on your shoulder and being able to pick up the phone, she's so approachable. Like it doesn't matter. I know she works around the clock. I know Samson's like, girl, get off the phone. But I know she is so approachable and available to everybody. Like no question is too small. No project, it seems like too out of this world, or she hasn't been exposed to, but I needed that. We needed that. And I think that helped us being able to like lock in to say like, yes, this is ours and let's own it. Let's continue to step forward. So again, back what you said, Tilisa, the mindset shift was the first piece. The second piece is making sure that you have the right person that's on your side or on your team to help you set up your network, your circle. And we didn't have that on our first property. So being able to kind of like clean things up a little bit, straighten ourselves up, get us a little bit more polished and presentable, it's allowing for us to each property step in a little bit more confidently. So thank you.
I love that.
That's beautiful. Okay, so people are nosy and they want to know like, okay, give us the real deal. Talk to us about this property that we purchased and kind of how you found it and just what it was all about.
So the property is in Mesquite, which is not too far from us, maybe about 10 minutes from us. It was on the Facebook page, actually. Chaz, I believe, put in a blurb about a property being available, and we had already been analyzing and looking for a property. And so he was like, "Hey, this one could fit." And so we were like, "Hey, let's go." I've been saying yes to almost everything. Like, let's look at everything. And so it was originally a 2-1 with a 1-car garage. And so the garage had previously been converted into a bedroom. So it was a 3-1 when we got it. And then we added a bathroom and changed a little bit of the floor plan. And so it became a 3-2 with an addition sunroom in the back. You want numbers and all that?
It's up to you if you want to share. People in your business, they want to know like the numbers.
Actually, and to piggyback on the previous question, that's another thing I love about the group and the course. As we have been on together, everybody kind of just shares. So even the numbers and things like that, like Deba, I know you just did this Richardson house and you told us all your aches and pains and everything, but you gave us the numbers and everybody was like, "Oh, I would do that." And so it became okay, so we bought it for $164. We were supposed to put about $30,000 into it. We did go over budget. There were some other little hiccups and problems in that house that we ran into. So we ended up being about $48,000 into it altogether. We sold it. What was our final price? We sold it for $260. No, $260. $260. Sold it for $260 and came out profit of about $36,000.
Wow. That's a win. Like, y'all better pat yourselves on the back. Y'all did that. And what was so funny is like I kept calling them like the week before we were closing. I was like, "Okay, how do y'all feel?" And Tam was like, "I'm not believing this until like the ink is dry." Like
I was
even at closing, it was like, "Okay, when do I get my money? That's when I'm gonna believe it." So kudos to y'all. Like y'all did it. Y'all found your superpower.
That is amazing.
God was in the midst of all that. And I will say this, just to kind of give timeline. The property was purchased in August.
Yep.
August 24th. Again, there were some stumbling meaning like we had foundation, we had termites, like there were a lot of things that were just coming out of the ballpark. We were like, "Oh my gosh." But so it ended up bumping us back a little bit. This would have been Thanksgiving. The week of Thanksgiving was when we were finally like ready to button it up and put it on the market. But since it was
a bad time,
So since it was a holiday weekend, it was, we can't do open house until the following week. We were like, man, like we really want to just, get this closed. Like we're ready to like finish it off. That weekend. So Thanksgiving was that Thursday. That weekend we had 4 or 5 people.
I think it was 4 showings that weekend.
That Monday, was the offer.
Yeah, full price,
conventional loan, and the rest is history. So we had a nice Christmas gift.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we were happy when, like Deba said, I was not getting excited. I was like, anything can happen. I won't wait until the ink dries, and I'll be like, all right, great, let's go.
Oh my gosh.
So that was Christmas. We were closed and funded.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I just want the people to just see, like, here we have Tam in the healthcare industry. Here we have Sean in the education industry. He's left his job. And now you guys have flipped your first property, made a profit of $30,000, didn't know really hardly nothing about real estate. And because you had a coach and you had a community of people who are also doing it, now all of a sudden you guys feel like, you know what, I think I can do this thing too. And so I know some people, because you guys just kind of just spit out like, yep, we bought the property for 160, whatever it was. So tell people, how did you guys get it funded? Talk about what that process was like.
That was actually the biggest roadblock we had of getting into real estate. We didn't know how are we going to buy this property? Like we have, money in our savings accounts and things that we put aside, like a retirement fund. We both have retirements and stuff like that. But we were like, we're not trying to like, break everything down and like close savings accounts trying to like buy a property. So it's like, how are we going to get these properties, you know, how are we going to buy this? Where are we going to get this money from? And that was the first thing that we were so happy when we got in. One of the first modules was like, hey, this is how you get the money for this. And it was like, this is how you get a hard money lender. And it was like, oh, that's it? That's all we And we're like, yo, Tam's like, yo, I'm on the internet right now. Like she had us approved in like the next day or day and a half. She was like, I got everything submitted. We just need to, you know, everything to come back. And so once we got that taken care of and we learned how to do the Longhorn process, it was like, oh, like, okay, so we can get this property. And then we started asking on the live calls. I was like, Deba, so can we do a second one like right now, or do we gotta wait? And so she was like, no, hold on, do your first one first, get it, you know, get the process down, which is a good idea. And then, but now in 2024, now that we've done the first one, we are ready to try to scale it to maybe be able to do and have a second property starting as we're in the midst of a first property, you know, that kind of thing. So that helped us out like a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing.
And tell us one, I mean, you may have already mentioned it, but what was one of the eye-opening or transformative things that you went through the process that you were like, okay, I can do this? Like, what was one of those moments?
Okay. And we talked about this one before we even got on, because for me, this one, it became a little personal for me. I don't know if this is as a man or whatever, but you kind of got to get out your own way. You're gonna have questions. And you got to be able to say, hey, you know, I don't quite know how to do this, or thinking that you can do everything on your own. That is one thing, because I made a mistake in our process where I should have asked the question way before. But I had to come to it. I had to, like, you know, swallow that one and just admit, like, hey, you know, that was me. Like, I thought I could handle it when I should have just went and asked the question. I learned some things about Deba because she came in and like wreck shop and like made that thing correct. I was like, thank you, Deba. It's really good, like, to have somebody who's done this before and understands, like, oh, no. When that happens, we about to fix that. You know, it's not one of those things where you have to kind of like struggle on your own. Don't struggle on your own. That's what Deba has been here for. And it's been amazing that she's like, offered herself in that way. Like, it's really saved a headache in the process that could have made things a whole lot worse.
Agreed.
Yeah. And I will say I was a little bit uncomfortable. I'm not going to lie. When sometimes I have to like step in and go all the way in. And then I'm like, wait a minute, let's bring everybody back. Let's kind of circle this. Because what type of work are we doing? Because my mentees are like my number one priority. So if there's an issue, if I walk through the house and I'm like, okay, this is not what's supposed to happen, a different Deba comes out that a lot of people don't see, because they usually see this loving, caring. My kids see it all the time, but most people in the world, they don't really see me when I have to go in. And I was like, okay, I hope Tam and Sean know, like, this is just turn off Deba, because I am like mommy hen. Like, y'all are like mommy. I'm like the mama, and I want to make sure y'all are taken care of. And we had a couple of issues where we had to call the contractor back in. And I think one night I came over there like at 9:00 at night. I was like, Samson, I got to go. Please help me out. Like, I got you later tonight, but I got to go handle this right now. So we come to the house 9:00 at night. There's some issues with like the tile work, because the house isn't, the water wasn't coming down the drain correctly. There was some other like sheetrock work that, I mean, the contractors had to show up late and they had to come back and redo the work. And I think they had to take and eat the cost because they didn't do it right the first time.
So basically what I'm hearing is, if you're in Deba's coaching program, Deba's going to go to bat for you. Don't nobody want to fool with Miss Deba.
All the way.
Don't nobody want to fool with Miss Deba. Okay.
Right. And sit back and take notes so you can learn how to do it too. Because I was like, well, that's impressive.
Noted.
Yeah. In a very professional way. But
she's good.
I love it. So you guys, this has been amazing. You guys are just a wealth of information. And I want you guys to tell the people, if there's somebody out here who is kind of on the fence about jumping into real estate investing, if you can give them one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Do it. I'm a little bit,
do it.
so I will say our dynamics, like I'm the more like risk taker, ballsy. He's a little bit more conservative. So we balance each other. I will say that. But my first goal for this course, which allowed for me to kind of pull them in on the other side, was, okay, let's do our first flip and let's get our money back. Let that be our small goal.
Yeah.
We've attained that goal and then some, but I was like, let that be our first one. Let it be something small. So at least, again, can draw them on the other side. But there were so many questions we had during our first property that would have made it so much easier for us as far as like scaling, being able to use like hard money, that we just didn't know what was in our arsenal. I mean, we didn't even have our LLC set up for our first property, right? So we were all out of order, all out of whack. And when I say Deba literally will button you up from top to bottom, left to right, and making sure that you have your A team, your finances are in order. How do you budget? How do you find a deal? There's times during my lunch break at work. Now that I know how to analyze deals, I can go literally and scroll through and put my numbers in and say, okay, it's not just price tag sticker shock. Like sometimes before we would look at things like, oh, I can only look at houses that are like 150 and less, right? You're cutting yourself off of the table of so many opportunities if you just open that book a little bit more. So even if it is higher, another 100,000, let's say it's a 250 or higher home, if you're running the numbers and the deal makes sense, go for it. Go for it. But before, I wouldn't have had that knowledge base. And so I definitely tip my hat to Deba and her team that she had literally like the A team. Like there are no dumb questions, but literally that I needed somebody to hold my hand and walk us through that process. So as we are looking for more properties for 2024, confidently, like I can wake up in the morning and take like 10-15 minutes before I start my day, and I'm on my phone like scrolling, like, okay, let's find some property, see what I can do. We'll shoot it to her. She'll say yes, or she'll say no. She'll say no in a loving way. But then she says it in a loving way, but at least you have somebody who you can bounce it off, who understands where you're going. You can tell her your goals and say, hey, this is what I want for me and my family. Yes, my first goal was let me get my money back from the course. Check, done. Now my second goal is set. She knows what it is, but my second goal is set of where we want to, how we want to scale for this year. And then having our kids be a part of this process, I love it because they're going to be the ones to take this on and continue it, right? Down the line. So we like playing Monopoly as a family. We're gamers around here.
Yes.
But being able to teach your kids how to play Monopoly in real life is the real flex.
That's the real flex.
But having them a part of that process, and now when we're looking at properties, or even when we're going to, we include that in that when we're driving, or hey, this is going to be the next home for a potential family. Like, let's look at it. And they'll come and they'll give their 2 cents or what the recommended paint color is from a kid's perspective. But they're included in this process too, so it's fun.
Yeah. It's so beautiful to watch. Like, you are the trendsetter and changing the trajectory for everyone behind you. Like, everyone behind you, not even just your kids, but the people you're connected with. And you now know how to create your own money. So no matter what happens with the job or whatever, you're like, okay, let me shift around a little bit, but now I know how to create my own money. You have the tools and you have your own superpower. That's a beautiful thing. Like, I'm just honored to be able to see it. Like, I'm honored to just be a part of the journey.
Yeah,
that's one thing I will say. And Deba, just to give you your props and shout out. You've been doing this, and one great thing about the course is, like she said, you're kind of hand-holding us and walking us through. You give access to your team, like the people that you are actually using. And so that it makes it a lot easier to go in and feel a lot more confident, because I make it the reference to, like, you found a gold mine and you could go and just dig the gold mine all by yourself and like keep all these properties to yourself. But instead, you was like, I can't dig up all this gold by myself. So you went back and was like, hey, y'all, come and help me dig this gold. And you're letting other people come and get these gems with you. And that's because most people won't. Most people are just greedy. Like, I'm going to get all this gold for myself. Yep. And you're like, nah, I'm going to get my people. If you're interested, I'm going to show you how to do it, show you how I do it. And so when we see you do properties and we're doing a property like right next to you and we're like, oh, we did the same. Like when we showed up to the closing the other day, you were like, oh, I'm here. And I was like, oh, true. We're doing the same thing she's doing. So, I mean, it was amazing. But like most people will not do that. They are not going to give you all the knowledge that they have. And the people, she's like, oh, let me give you my contact for this person. Let me give you my contact for that person. And you're like, whoa, these are the actual people that she's using. So it's not like you give me some rando, person that nobody knows. Yeah. These are people that you've used. So it makes you feel a whole lot more confident when you go into a deal. Absolutely. And you're like, oh yeah, I use this guy, whatever. Let me give him a call. And then he calls you and you're like, oh, hey, what's up? Hey, he actually called me. and you're able to get things done. I mean, it makes the process a whole lot more smooth. So
agreed.
Definitely shout out for that because it makes it easy. Mm-hmm.
I love that. I know my heart is full for you guys. My heart is full for you, friend, because I know how big your heart is, and I know what you guys are talking about. And if Deba got a contractor that's not performing, they will be out the mix real quick. Yes. Deba don't play about her mentees.
Quickly.
Okay, so the last question that we have. Any advice, like any real, like concrete of if you were talking to yourself 10 years ago we have someone listening and they're like, I want to do this, but I don't know how, I don't know what to do. What advice can you really give them?
Get a goal. One, make sure that real estate is what you want to do. It's not an easy process. Deba helps walk you through it. You are or were in the education field yourself. So your videos are set up in modules. It helps you walk straight through it. Yeah. She's going to make that part of it easy for you, but don't think that like it's just going to be given to you. You got to analyze. You got to be ready to get in there and do some work. Mm-hmm. You said something in one of the calls the other day. You were like, hey, y'all. Y'all are at boss level now. Like you're not, and you were like, wait, what was the quote you said? I can't quite remember it. Oh, you don't pay retail anymore. And I was like, wait a minute. You sure right about that. Like we're trying to find all the deals. We're trying to find. So you start to look around and you think about things differently. I'm not trying to pay full price for all this stuff. And you start to get in there and like really figure out how your numbers work and how do you make them work for you and how do you keep your budget down and how do you do all that kind of stuff. So advice would be get in there, start to learn, listen, join the podcast, get in there, ask 1,000 questions. Because I know, I'm sorry, Deba, I'll be asking questions.
I love it.
Even when you tell us no about a property, I come up and be like, Deba, why you say no? Like, I like that house. But yeah, that would be my advice. And just make sure that real estate is something that you're really passionate about because it's not the easiest thing in the world. It's definitely doable. Absolutely. All day is doable. But there will be some headaches. There will be some things that you got to kind of figure out. So I guess that would be, I don't know if I actually gave an advice point, but that would be my suggestion to people.
Yeah.
I love it. Awesome. Well, we really enjoyed having you guys on the show. We'll close it out here in just a second. But if you guys are watching and you're tired of being on the sidelines and you are ready to join this real estate investing game, whether you want to do it actively or whether you want to invest passively and be a private money lender, stop waiting, stop watching, and join us. We'll see you guys next week.
We'd like to thank you for tuning in to the Keys to Success podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to listen to more, be sure to subscribe to Apple Podcast and YouTube for our latest episodes.
Check out our show notes for more information on mentorship, private money lending, or if you just want to be a guest on our podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.